And we are back. I am trying something new, as you can see, so hopefully it works out. It is Thursday. It is week 5 of quarantine, I think. And we're going to read another chapter from our newest book, Artists and Their Pets. And we are on with Frida Kahlo, From Mexico with Passion. So we know a little bit about her. I know a lot about her. I wonder if there's anything new I'm going to get from this. Probably. I always learn something new. This iconic and celebrated artist loved the company of animals, and many of them made it into her powerful paintings. Spider monkeys, a hairless dog, parakeets, macaws, and even a fawn were Kahlo's true loves. Let's see her. Some of her pets. The fawn is being the baby deer. Well, it's a dog, but sorry, it's hard to point backwards. Born in 1907 in Mexico, Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo y Calderon later shortened her name to Frida Kahlo. She grew up with her parents and 6 sisters. Even though Frida always loved animals, the family didn't have any pets when she was little. When she was 3, the Mexican Revolution began. It was a bitter and violent struggle that lasted 10 years and changed Frida's life and the way the country was run. When Frida was 6, she caught a disease called polio, which damaged her right leg. From then on, she always covered up her leg with her clothing, but still other children cruelly nicknamed her Peg Leg Frida. At 18, Kahlo hoped to become a doctor. She lived in a small village called Coyoacan inside Mexico City, about an hour's bus ride from her school. One day, the bus driver turned a corner and he collided with a cable car. Kahlo's lower body was crushed in the accident, causing terrible injuries that affected her for the rest of her life. In enormous pain, she had to lie in a body cast for 3 months, and she spent the rest of her life in and out of hospitals, having 35 operations. She could not have children and was never without pain. So, she had polio as a kid, so she was stuck in bed for a long time, and then she gets in a terrible bus accident and is again confined to her bed. She overcame all that, though. She still was a strong artist, a strong woman even. She stood up to her husband, who we'll probably learn about in this. Soon after the accident, Kahlo's mom had a special easel made for her that she could use in bed, and her father gave her some paints. Remember, her father was a photographer and a painter. They thought it would cheer her up. Kahlo taught herself to paint. And you can see her in her bed with the special easel that her mom had made her. There was also a mirror, I think, on the ceiling or somewhere projected above so that she could do portraits of herself. Kahlo's paintings expressed her feelings and pain. Eventually, she learned to walk again, and she decided she wanted to be an artist. No more doctoring. Starting in the 1920s, the Mexican government paid for certain artists to paint murals on the walls of public buildings, such as churches, schools, and libraries, to show the country's history and to help bring everything back together after the revolution. There were 3 main Mexican mural painters: Jose Clemente Orozco, David Alfaro Siqueiros, and Diego Rivera, who later became Kahlo's husband, one of the most prolific Mexican mural artists of that time was Diego Rivera, and they fell in love, but marriage can be tumultuous sometimes. Kahlo first met Diego Rivera when she was a student, asking for advice on her art career. They fell in love and married in 1929. Kahlo was Rivera's 3rd wife. He was 42 and large. She was 22 and tiny. Her parents referred to them as the elephant and the dove. Elephant and dove. I never knew that. See, I learned something new. Kahlo and Rivera had an extremely stormy marriage. He was rarely faithful, and they separated several times. Although she spent a lot of time in the hospital over her career, she painted 143 paintings, 55 of them self-portraits. These show her suffering and loneliness, but also how determined she was. She painted many paintings in bed. She even had a mirror placed over her bed so she could paint self-portraits. Kahlo kept many pets, which she loved passionately, almost a substitute for the children she could not have. She featured them in many paintings. They included 2 or 3 spider monkeys, one named Fuleng Cheng, a gift from Rivera, and another named Caimito de Guayabal, which were several Mexican hairless dogs. And this word I will have a really fun time pronouncing. Soloitzcuintes. I'm not going to try anymore, never mind. Including her favorite, oh God, they need a pronunciation in here. I'm struggling. What? Xatl? Parrots, including Bonito, an Amazon breed who perform tricks for pats of butter, parakeets, macaws, chickens, sparrows, an eagle named Gertrudis Cacablanca. Let me read that again. Gertrudis Cacablanca, and a dainty fawn named Granizo. See all the little animal pictures there. 3 little spider monkeys. And then, of course, a portrait of her with some of her parrots. There's no pronunciation for this, and I'm so sorry, you guys. The name of Kahlo's favorite dog breed, Xatoi, comes from... I'm going to let y'all try to help me read that. The name of Kahlo's favorite dog breed comes from the language spoken by the Aztecs, composed of 2 names, meaning God, and meaning dog. It translates as God's dog. That's a palindrome, you guys, because, oh wait, no, it's not. God's dog. God's dog. Oh no, wait, it is a palindrome. Yeah, it's a palindrome. It's the same forward and backward. God's dog. Kahlo frequently used symbols in her paintings to tell underlying stories, and many of her animals represent different meanings. For instance, her monkeys symbolize either protection or evil. A hummingbird stands for good luck or the end of her marriage. A black cat means bad luck or death, and her deer suggests being hunted. There's a couple of her paintings. I'll probably put those on nice and big. Her home was called Casa Azul, or blue house in Spanish. In the garden, it was literally a blue house. In the garden, Rivera built a pyramid structure for some of the animals to sleep in. Also in the garden, Kahlo planted colorful tropical plants and arranged Mexican sculptures. Extremely proud of her heritage, she also wore traditional Mexican costumes and hairstyles. In 1931, in San Francisco County Hospital, Kahlo met Dr. Leo Elesser, a well-known bone surgeon and friend of Rivera's. He became her doctor for the rest of her life. The following year, she and Rivera moved to the United States as Rivera had been commissioned to paint a mural at the Detroit Institute of Arts. They also lived in Philadelphia and New York and stayed in the U.S. for almost 3 years. I didn't know she lived in Philadelphia. Now I want to find out where she lived, go stalk that house, and be like, Frida was here. Rivera loved the United States, but Kahlo missed Mexico. When they returned, she had more operations. Kahlo once said, "I paint myself because I'm so often alone, and because I am the subject I know best." Simplified and brightly colored, her paintings are often described as folk art. In 1937, 4 of her paintings were shown for the first time in public in a Mexican exhibition. There's a little painting of her and one of her little puppies. In 1938, the French poet and surrealist André Breton visited Mexico. When he saw Kahlo's work, he said she was a surrealist. Surrealists made art about dreams and people's unconscious thoughts. Although Kahlo said she was not a surrealist, she accepted his offer to show her work in Paris. Later that year, she traveled to New York for her first solo exhibition. And the following year, she went to Paris for the Mexique exhibition of her work. One of the paintings shown was a self-portrait that became the first work by a 20th century Mexican artist to be bought by the famous Louvre Museum in Paris. Louvre. That November, she and Rivera were divorced. Good. Cheated on her too much. Get out of here. In 1940, early in World War II, Breton organized the International Surrealist Exhibition at the Gallery of Mexican Art in Mexico City. Kahlo and Rivera took part, although they did not consider themselves surrealist. That December, she and Rivera remarried. Because her themes are sometimes bizarre and disturbing, Kahlo is often called a surrealist, but unlike the surrealist who explored dreams and the subconscious, Kahlo painted images about her real life. It was not until 1953 that her first solo exhibition was held in Mexico. By then, she was extremely ill. Dr. Alesser said she was not well enough to attend the opening, but she was determined. She arranged for her bed to be delivered to the gallery, while she followed in an ambulance. She was carried to her bed and greeted everyone at the exhibition. That's perseverance. Soon after, however, Kahlo's badly infected right leg had to be amputated below the knee. The following year, she became particularly ill and was mainly bedridden. In July 1954, she died at home in Casa Azul. She was 47 years old. See her in her wheelchair with her pets around her. Yeah. That being the end of the story, it's sad that she died at such a young age. But she made, I think, the best and the most of her life and the situations that kept getting thrown in her way. And I think that that's a good metaphor, I suppose, of what's happening now. You know, we are stuck in this situation, so how are we going to make the best of it? And if you had to make a portrait of yourself, what symbols would become important in your imagery? Would certain animals stand for something, or would you have other objects in there that meant a different meaning? I wonder if you can come up with your own symbol vocabulary. So I think that's my challenge, not to do a portrait, because we do a lot of those, and I think that was the last thing that I did ask you to do when we read about Frida before. But maybe you come up with your own alphabet, if you will, of symbols. Not to go A to Z, but like just start thinking of things that are important to you and have significance. Like for me, dolphins. I love dolphins. I always have. So maybe a dolphin would be a symbol of freedom because they're just so free and out there in the world, in the water, and just just dolphining around. So, you know, I'd have a dolphin and then a little arrow pointing to freedom. Maybe I'll pop that up. And then also maybe another symbol would be, I'm going to say nail polish, because that's become important to me this year. Or not this year, but the past month. Like, nail polish has been a way of just giving myself a little self-care. I change my nail polish color once a week, or so that's been the pattern so far. So that's just more about self-care. So I'd have a little nail polish bottle, self-care. So like that. So you come up with your own visual vocabulary. So I wonder what you can come up. How come no one told me I got some bumpy hair? All right. I hope you enjoyed this one. This one's fun for me to do. And I will see you tomorrow on Friday. You'll see me. I always say I'll see you, but I won't. I wish I could see you. Anybody out there? Okay. See you tomorrow.